I'm Rhea. I'm going into sophomore year at Trinity School in New York City. And for my project, I did the line following robot. I guess everyone else here did like robot arms, but I did the line following robot, which uses infrared sensors, like Sky mentioned, to control its motors. So this is generally what it is. So this project really intrigued me initially because I was interested in like building a robot because I'd never done that before and like learning how to work with motors in general. And last year at Blue Stamp, I made the electric chameleon, which uses, it's a weird name, but it uses a color sensor that senses the color of an object and then emits that color on an LED ring. So I had, with that basis of working with sensors, I wanted to like build on that this year. So I decided to make this robot that also uses sensors. So here is a little demonstration. Video. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
So that's
Yep.
a that's a crudely taped line, but it works somehow. Yeah, he's working away around the track.
Jay, look at it go!
Ooh.
There he is. So it only follows a black line because these IR sensors work by sending out and receiving infrared light. All right, there we are. Yeah, so it only works and it only follows a black line because these infrared sensors work by sending out and receiving infrared light. And black is the only color that absorbs these rays and it doesn't like reflect back any infrared light. So I basically coded my project to only move when there's no infrared light being received, basically. And that signal goes from the sensors to the motors. And the motors work, the two motors in my project, which are right here, I should probably show my project. There are two wheels, and the two motors work with a motor driver, which basically just controls like the direction and the direction of the wheels and how fast they go. And I also use an Arduino, like Rishab mentioned. It's like a microcontroller, like computing platform, I guess. And I also use some like programming software to make sure the sensors send a proper signal to the motors. Yeah, so after I finished like my base project, I wanted to like modify it a bit, and I did that by soldering, which is just basically just making the connections of the wires like more secure by like fusing them. And because my robot moves, I didn't want to like have like wires flying everywhere. And it was kind of tiresome to like keep on picking up my robot, fix the little wires and everything. So that's kind of why I wanted to modify it by soldering. And speaking of modifications, the thing that I had wanted to try was using a different kind of motor to like raise a little flag when the robot was moving. And I was like super excited about this, and I worked out all the code and everything. And once I connected it to my robot, it just stopped moving. And I thought I like broke it or something. And I troubleshooted through this kind of issue. And it turns out it was just sucking too much power away from my sensors and my main motors. And I decided that I didn't want a modification that would take away so much power and take away from my main base project. So luckily, I managed to work through that. And that example of troubleshooting is just one of the many skills that I've learned at Blue Stamp. And this year, it's only reconfirmed the amazing times I had last year in the on-site program. And I'm really glad that I got to dive into programming and motors and sensors a little more this year. And I feel that the instruction at Blue Stamp from Sky and everyone, from that I've really formed a really good foundation that I can like move on to more independent projects, which I'm really glad about. And yeah, although this isn't exactly related to my project, I've learned that I kind of want to maybe go into some more like projects relating to like bioengineering maybe. And just with this skill set and like this really good foundation, as I mentioned, just excited to learn and do some more projects. So thanks.